What's up, everybody? It's D-Hart. I am at the airport right now. I am flying to Southern California because we're going to have a Bakugan tournament today. Pro TCG. Best times in the world. And yeah, I'm flying down there. Southwest, baby. Here's the airport. I am bringing one backpack because I wanted to fit all my stuff in there. So 3 deck boxes and a whole bunch of extra Bakugan to just trade and sell and all that kind of stuff with all the people down there. And so I'm going through TSA and they look at the backpack underneath the x-ray machine at security and they're like, what's in there? Are there cards? What are all those things? And I said, yes. There's tons and tons of little plastic toys all over the place. And then there are cards inside deck boxes. And she's like, okay, we gotta have a look at this. And they set it aside. It goes to another agent who, brings it over to the table. They have to go through your bag. And I tell her, don't open it like that, because it was laying on its side. It's my backpack. Don't open it like that, because all the toys are gonna spill out of it. And so she opens it up, and boom, there's all the Bakugan. There's like 100 of them in here. And you see these deck boxes. That's where all my cards are. And they're just like in awe, obviously. Like, who the heck are you? What are you doing? And some of them, one of the people grabbed the Bakugan and she was trying to close it. And she was just working on it the whole time, right here. This is how far she got on Pigatrix. She was trying to close it the whole time while the other person was just going through my bag like, I'm supposed to look at all 3 of these deck boxes? And then I said, yep, if it isn't obvious, I'm going to a gaming event right now. So they wished me luck and I left. Gonna board my plane in a couple minutes. Can't wait to get down to Southern California and see all the friends down there and have some Bakugan brawls with them. It's gonna be so sweet. Bakugan tournaments are the best. All right, made it to the venue. Play Live Nation at the Bray Mall in and around LA. Got my new mat from Flame Breather 99. Go to this guy if you want to see your mat ideas come to life. He's awesome. Got my Dex box. Gonna crack this baby open. That's not the team. Here's the team. Gonna see these guys. Look at this deck. Maybe get some practice rolls in. Where is everybody? All right, here's the gang. We're getting ready, paying our entry fee. We've been warming up. It's about to start. So much hype.
Or the minding, when you sit down to play.
We gotta get all this cool stuff going on. That's funny. All right, I'm back at the airport right now. This was the funnest, one of the funnest days of Bakugan tournaments ever. The few that I've been to have all been the funnest days ever. This was so awesome. I can't wait to show some of the stuff that I won, that I got, that I was given from some of the people at the tournament, including a super sweet mat. It was awesome. It was so much fun to get together with other people and play this game, have a tournament atmosphere. Thank you to all the people that came. So much fun. I can't stop saying it. Gonna head back home, get some rest, get ready for the next one. Can't wait. Also, I got to play most everybody there. I went undefeated because of the Mythic Bakugan. I had a full Mythic Bakugan team, never lost a match. Each round was best of 3. So I 2-0'd all the matches. Again, Mythic Bakugan, they were sweet. I ran that Pyru Sync, Damage Wins, Sync deck, so Darkus, Aquos, Pyrus. I think it's a super strong deck. Way cool deck. Been practicing the rolling, so the rolls were going. Gotta get prepped for this kind of stuff. I spent a bunch of time trying to put together a good team and testing this deck because I wanted to see how good it could do, and I had a heck of a time doing it. I don't know if prepping for a tournament can be just as much fun as going to a tournament. What happened at the tournament is that I ended up going undefeated in the tournament matches, in the non-tournament for fun matches that we played in between and after. This team, this deck, never lost a match. I do think that it is because I was using these Mythic Bakugan. These guys are super strong. I'm going to talk about each one of them. Not a lot of other players down there were using the Mythics. I think they're absolutely meta right now. it's hard to compete with them if you don't have them. So I think that's a big reason why I won. And I also think the other huge reason is just this deck. It's a Pyrosync deck, courtesy of the idea from Brawler Cafe, and I put some of my own touches and strategy around it, so I'll go through what exactly that looks like. But I'll start with the team here. We have, first off, Elemental Mythic Pyrus Dragonoid. He is amazing because he has 900B and 5 damage. Those are big stats. And if he's landing on that Fire Fist, he's taking the opponent's core and putting it back onto the field. And his built-in 900B is usually enough to already be ahead in the B power match. So then you just have to, for free, see if your opponent can make up the difference. And because the deck that I have in the cards are a sync deck, I can usually come ahead that first turn with some sync cards and win and get anywhere from 5 to 10 damage first turn. So super cool. It has a built-in reroll like the rest of these mythic Bakugan, and that's huge for countering other mythics, and you'll see a video of that pretty soon, what that looks like. So strategy-wise, I actually would roll Dragonoid first most of the time because he has a high B power and because he was taking the opponent's core right off the bat. So that was huge. Next up, I think the second best Bakugan on this team was Darkus Mythic Nilius. Now he has 606 with 2 helixes, but on a helix, he's picking up another core from the field and adding it to himself. So first turn, he can get up to 1850B. If he lands on this helix and then picks up the opponent's magic shield, which I'd always just, if I was rolling him first, if I knew it was going to be a B power win, if I knew it had to be that, if I couldn't do sync, and if I couldn't super fuel into a damage wins turn 1, I would roll this Nilius first because he was just high B power. So he was getting up to 1850 because I'm taking my opponent's magic shield, and he had 3 damage. And that was the strategy there. Just awesome, super strong. If I wasn't rolling him first, because I could do damage wins on turn 1 with a super fuel and a Midas Indius, then what I would do to get the highest amount of damage, I would roll on this core, and then I would pick up one of my 2 Fire Fists. So with all these cores, I'm doing damage wins turn 1 with super fuel, Midas Indius. That's 15, 16 damage turn 1. Huge, super huge. All that can stop it is a Pact of Darkness, Obscuring Evade, a Confuse stopping the Red Fist, or that 0-cost Helix stopper, which I can't remember what it is, Dazzle from Hales. It's just, he's super strong turn 1 to get that damage wins. So he was my B power monster, as well as damage wins monster. And then lastly, because I wanted to have another mythic, I needed to have a good built-in reroll because I was assuming that I'd be countering other players with mythics. I wanted to have the built-in rerolls to try to miss the first roll, they would land, then I could reroll and avoid some of these antics, you know, like if somebody else was playing a mythic Dragonoid Pyrus, that they wouldn't be able to take my core. So I wanted 3 people with built-in rerolls. That was just so strong. And then he was taking a core from somebody else and putting it onto himself with a green fist. So he was the 3rd Bakugan that I generally rolled. And by then I was hoping I could definitely do a Midas Indius. If I didn't win that turn with the damage wins, I was hoping by turn 4 I could play a Mac, or even waiting until the 5th turn. I had Super Fuel as the only energy reducing card in there to try to play some of those damage wins early. So he would get up to 9, and then 10 with a Midas Indius, or 11 with a Mac. And he was taking the opponent's core, so that's another thing too, is he was stealing it from him. If they tried to counter or do damage wins themselves, he'd be taking a damage wins core from them that turn that I rolled him. So it's just so strong. Having these built-in rerolls and playing these mythics was so strong. So there we go. I'm going to put all these guys aside for now, and I'll put them up here, and I'll just show you the deck now. So like I said, you can check out Brawler Cafe, get the Pyrosync deck list. It's mostly the same. I changed a couple things in here. So first off, we have 3 copies of Baku Treasure. This is just good because it 0 cost draw 1, everybody knows this by now, most people do, you're just trading this card for another damage wins card or a sync card. You're hoping that you have more consistency in your deck and you can get those cards into your hand. So the second that you have this card in your hand, you're just trading it out for another card and drawing right off the bat. So that is that. The next three were Falling Strike. This is super cool in a damage wins deck because it's giving you 5 to reveal a card that costs 5 or more in your hand. So it's the first sync card. This is like turn 1. If I'm not gonna do damage wins, I would roll, a Dragonoid. If I had Howling Shell Bomb in my hand, I would roll Dragonoid because I wasn't gonna do damage wins. I would take the opponent's core, and then I would still get Falling Strike for 100 and then Howling Shell Bomb for free for 1,000, and turn 1 I'd be 2,000 B with 10 damage, plus the 6 core, so 16 damage. There's a couple different ways you can just try to really hurt somebody turn 1. So that's Falling Strike. The next card in here for sync was Aqua Freeze Beam, 3 copies of this. Again, turn 1, spend your energy and use Howling Shell Bomb with it to get 500, or a couple of the other 5-cost card I had. I wasn't always trying to win B power. I just found that with 9 damage wins cards in my deck, I really didn't have to try to win B power battles a lot. I could lose many of the B power battles and just survive long enough to do some really big damage wins hits. So I had 3 copies of Darkest Disaster. It's a 2-cost, 300 B and 3 damage, and then if you reveal the card in your hand for 5 or more, you get to draw 1. This was just there to help, second turn. If you still couldn't do damage win second turn, you could do a sync play with this and Howling Shell Bomb and get 2 energy for 1,300 B, another 3 damage, and you're drawing a card. So hopefully you're drawing another damage wins card into your hand. Here is the Howling Shell Bomb. So 3 copies of this, 5 energy for 1,000, and it's free if another card in your hand causes you to reveal this that you play. So big sync cards there. Everybody knows about those ones by now. Here are the 9 damage cards wins that I played. I played all 3 of them. Most of the turns I won is because I played 1 or 2 or 3 of these guys. So 3 copies of Midas Indius. If I could get him out turn 1, like I said, because I had a Super Fuel, I would, I'd play Nilius just because he would get up to 16 damage. Super big. Then we have Mac, 4 energy. The winner of that turn is determined by highest damage. And then Dark Rage, so 5 cost, minus 5 damage. I didn't play him, actually I did play him just about as much as the other ones. And the matches would get to 5 energy sometimes. The thing about flips is, you're doing like 16 damage turn 1, 16 damage turn 2, but people played flips, and those flips would stop them, like Confuse. Some people had those stops that were Stop Pyrus and Heos, so people with good flip strategy could put a stop to this sync and it would be okay. There's the 3 copies of Super Fuel. This is good, obviously, because Super Fuel is amazing. You get to play cards for 2 energy less, but it's also a 1-cost reroll. So I assumed if I was going to play people with Mythics, I needed the rerolls. 3 copies of Mecha Claw, just so that I could activate Falling Strike or Aqua Freeze Beam. And then, if you have no cards in your hand in a sync game because you're playing a lot of cards, you can just play this for free. For damage wins, it's awesome because it was giving 4 damage. I actually didn't use this card hardly at all. I don't even know if I really ever attached it in the actual games and used it as a card, so I energized it a lot. I did also energize Deep Dive, 3 copies of this. So I included Deep Dive because I wanted more cards that were reroll, a cheap reroll, and draw power. So for 1 cost to draw 1 and reroll, assuming again I had to counter Mythics and be able to reroll a lot, I included Deep Dive in my deck. I just didn't need to use it a lot because other people, like I said, didn't bring a lot of Mythics or the new Bakugan that had the built-in rerolls, so I didn't need to use it. I energized it a lot. The 1 card left over because I used 6 flip cards, the one off was Body Crusher, and I just used this to stall, just to be able to, if I had to lose you know, rolling a Hydrus because he didn't get a lot of B power, or a Nilius or whatever, I would just use this guy to stall the game longer. Take the loss, take, you know, 1 for -4, stay a little bit longer, and then make sure that the card on the top of my deck could be saved. It was one I wanted to save. I could look at that and then put it on the bottom. And then I had 3 copies, the flip cards, 3 copies of Obscuring Evade. I kept this because there's also the assumption that everybody would want to play Sync, or if they did play Sync, that I'd have a stop to that. Not a lot of people played Sync at this tournament. And you know what? The way that this deck ran with the damage wins and beating people pretty quick, I didn't even use it. I don't know if I ever really used it to stop someone. I don't know that I took a lot of damage with this team. So thinking back, I was wondering if I should sub out my Obscuring Evade and just use a quick fire to have a 0 cost reroll for the next time when people are playing Bakugan with rerolls and mythics and all that kind of stuff. So I think I might go back to that. And then lastly, Pact of Darkness, 3 copies of that. Comes in super handy. You know, you can at least play 3 rounds of the game if you don't draw it into your hand and have to energize it to try to get those good cards in your hand and win with damage wins. So there was my deck. Let me know what you thought. What would you have changed? How do you like to play these type of sync decks? It was super fun to play. I had a good time, but like I said, I think I won and went undefeated because other people the strategy they were playing weren't damage wins as much, and they didn't have, you know, these 3 mythics. There was one other person, maybe 2 other people that had the mythic Dragonoid, which he's amazing. The toughest match that I had for serious was against Fusions, because he was running 2 mythics and he had this same type of strategy that I had, where we were trying to play chicken and reroll, see who could steal each other's chords. So we had to make sure that we knew that the rule was, if you both don't open 3 times in a row, then the battle would just start. So it was seriously a mind game of who's gonna land first so that the other person can use their reroll and have their mythic activate their ability and steal a core. It was pretty funny. So fun stuff. Can't wait for the next tournament. Can't wait to build the next deck. I'm gonna show you how to deck prep when you're alone and how I deck prepped strategy when I was going to be in the tournament. So by myself, deal myself 6 cards. Look at what I was dealt. Holy cow, 3 Baku treasures, turn 1. I mean, I shuffled really well. This kind of stuff could happen. That's funny and super cheesy, and you're gonna see why Baku treasures are good. So draw and energize. I'm going to energize Mecha Claws because I want to keep my Descendius and Dark Rage. I'm going to trade out these 3. So before the roll, turn 1, I would just draw 3 more cards and get rid of all my Baku treasures. I drew a max, so now I have 3 damage wins cards in my hand. I have a Howling Shell Bomb for sync, but I don't have a sync trigger yet, and I have another Mecha Claw. So in this situation, turn 1, I am going to, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to lose a B power battle. So I would roll Dragonoid onto a Fire Fist. I would take my opponent's core. If my opponent was playing a mythic and I didn't have priority, meaning that my take the Fire Fist wasn't going to go off first, then I would probably roll Nilius, because I know I'm going to lose this first turn, just so that I could take another core from the field. So I would take one of their cores they didn't land on. I would take Magic Shield or a Helix of theirs if they needed it. I'd look at what Bakugan they were using. I'd steal a core, and then I would lose. For the sake of the example, I always just did 4. I'd lose. They do 4 damage every time as an average. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then second turn I would draw. Oh, it's another Descendius. I'm going to energize my Mecha Claw. So Descendius now, I can do damage wins for the next, 4 turns. Well, not quite. Yeah, I can. 4 turns. 4 turns in a row. I can do damage wins. This is amazing. This is what makes the deck killer. So knowing that I'm going to play Descendius now turn 2, I would... It depends on who my opponent was going to roll. I lost, so they would have priority. I might try to do a Hydrus because he's one of the weaker ones for damage wins. and I know that I can get away with winning him on a damage wins right now, and then get to this guy, and then do a team attack. So I'd roll on a green fist, I'd take my opponent's core, I'm at 9, play my Decidius for 2, I'm at 10 damage. If I didn't think that was going to be enough because my opponent had a stronger one, then I would choose, you know, one of these two guys. So let's just say, I would say I 1 damage wins there. I do 10 damage, turn 3, I draw. I'm not even going to use Dark Disaster. I'm going to keep with my damage wins, and I'm going to keep Howling Shell Bomb. So turn 3, I'm going to roll Dragonoid on his Fire Fist. I take my opponent's core, put it onto the field. I'm at 11, play my Decidius again. I'm at 12, and assuming that's enough, I win, I draw, I energize my Deep Dive. Then I roll Nilius, and the strategy of having these helixes is I roll Nilius on this helix, plus 3. So now I'm at 9 damage, and then I'm taking the second Fire Fist that comes with Dragonoid. I'll put these guys down a little bit. The second Fire Fist that comes with Dragonoid, and I'm putting it on here. So that is 15 damage. I play Mac, and I am at 17. So that's a team attack. 17 plus 11 is 28, plus 10 is 38 damage, team attack. And let's just say they stopped it with a flip, so Max stays with me. We're gonna go on to turn 5, so draw. I'm not gonna keep Dark Disaster. I'm gonna do damage wins with Dark Rage. Turn 5, I'm gonna play Nilius because he gets up super high. And there we go again. He is at 15, 16, 17 again. I turn 5, I play Dark Rage. My opponent has -5, and I win again. If the match isn't over yet, let's just go one more round. I drew another Dark Disaster. So I'm not gonna do damage wins this time. I'm gonna do B power. I'm gonna roll Dragonoid onto a Fire Fist, take my opponent's core, I'm at 900, and then for 2 energy, well, I'll play that. I'll reveal Howling Shell Bomb. I'll draw a card, and then I play Howling Shell Bomb. So 1300 on Dragonoid's 9 is 2200. Hopefully that was enough. If it wasn't, I'm taking damage. But at that point in the game, you know, I've done tons and tons of damage. I think it would have been over by now. And I just do this over and over again until I get a good feel of who I want to roll, when I want to roll them, what the you know, what the draws look like, what cards come to me on the first draw, and just do my strategy from there. It's super fun, it's entertaining, and you get good prep for when you're gonna play against people. Maybe not as good as playing actual people, but you know, sometimes you don't have anybody. Let me know what you think. Do you do this yourself? What other deck ideas do you have that you would test in this way? It's so much fun to deck build and deck test. I also have to give a shout out to my pal Flame Breather 99 for making this map for me. He designed it, we designed it together, he made it, got it printed at Inked Gaming and delivered to my house. I love it, it's super cool. Something that I got from the tournament from Bon was a Psycho Turtle playmat. Super cool. Never got a chance to go to Psycho Turtle, haven't yet, hopefully will in the future. But this is a super awesome mat too, so excited to have it. I got a Psycho Turtle pin, even though we weren't playing there. The first place tournament winner, so this is really cool. Gonna store this baby forever. It's fun to have a piece of it with the mat and with the first place pin. I also won this Geogon Brawler pack and a Diamond Aqua Apopix starter pack that I traded to a buddy down at the tournament for some cards that I needed. So super cool winnings. Thank you to Jordy and Geo for bringing this stuff and putting on an awesome tournament. It was so much fun. I'm so glad you did it. Can't wait to go to the next one.